Hey everyone, this is Dark Spidey TV. You're watching the episode 23 or 24 commentary entitled Vendetta Part 2. It's been a while since I made a commentary for obvious reasons. I don't know why it's... You know what? I don't even know why this takes me so long to do. All I have to do is talk over the episode. It's not really that big of a deal, but whatever. I know I said I wasn't going to be going over every single episode in a row. I might go back to do older episodes, but this episode is important. It marks a certain point in the series in terms of overall quality. I'll go over it later in the video. It's a thing. All right, I've noticed this. All right, just stick with me. All right. So the episode opens up with Peter taking pictures of the firefighters from the World Unity Day Festival. It's almost like they'll be needed at some point in time in this video. Probably not, but let's stay tuned and watch. He's hoping that the Hobgoblin will show up, and he feels kind of guilty for wanting that to happen so he can get the staff photographer job, because that involves people getting hurt or possibly killed. So this conversation between Eddie Brock and Peter Parker is pretty difficult to understand, so I'll try to reiterate what was said in the episode in this commentary. Peter walks up to Eddie, and he's like, Eddie? He's like, hey, Pete. And Peter says, Pete? And Eddie Brock says, what, I can't call you Pete? Do I need to know you longer? And Peter says, well, you can try not being such a jerk to me and pretend like the last conversation we had didn't happen leading up to this point in the charade of a conversation we're having right now. How did you even know about the festival? And he goes, it's the talk of the town. And then Peter replies with, oh, I know this game. You're actually here hoping that the Hobgoblin blows up those businessmen up there who just so happen to make military-grade weapons with stolen military equipment. Sorry about that. Then Eddie Brock says, no, I'm just taking pictures of a family-friendly festival celebrating world peace. And he says, strangely out of character, but he's probably pretending to be nice, like I said earlier, maybe we can work on this together. And Peter, being all hostile for some reason, goes, no, Mr. Robinson assigned me to this job. Now please stop pretending to be nice to me like every other bully I had since grade school who's actually threatened by me, which is me foreshadowing the conversation between Peter Parker and Uncle Ben in episode 28, and Eddie Brock goes, I have no idea what you're talking about, and walks right off. So you can see how hostile Peter Parker is in this episode, and that kind of comes full circle in episode 28. Now I kind of skipped some things. Okay, so Harry was talking to Alan Ferguson about, his father not being there. And if you saw the movie, you know where his father is at this point in time right now. Now, the reason why that Norman Osborn's hair looks like the ginger version of Hitler is because this is a visual indicator of his loss of sanity. And actually, no, that's not true at all. I actually didn't have any red hair Lego pieces that didn't look like Ron Weasley. So I used the red hair from that Lego Secret Agent minifigure. Bought that from Amazon, and I put it on Norman Osborn, so that's why. And you know what he is? It does sort of fit with his loss of sanity, because he's having a bit of an outburst right now. One of many outbursts in the future. Now, what's happening in this scene is just a bunch of business. I just threw together a bunch of business terms. I was like 16 or 17 when I wrote this, guys. I had no idea what I was talking about, and I probably should have been more thorough in my research. But no, I just was lazy. I think this scene was supposed to be in the beginning, because when we actually watched the episode, they're just at the World Unity Day Festival. There really is no transition to the World Unity Day Festival. But I kind of wanted to do sort of like a flashback thing. It'd be all fancy with my editing skills, but it kind of was a detriment to the pacing of the episode in the beginning. So let's just... Okay, so to sum up the scene, he's losing shares. He's losing control of his I don't know. Look, bad things are happening, and it's because of Alan Ferguson and Roderick Kingsley. And I really like the look of the set. I like a lot of the sets in this episode. I mean, they seem kind of basic and simple, but that just means they have more direction. And there's the final time you see his spider sense indicated by, visual effects. Now, how I filmed the Green Goblin flying across the city, I chroma keyed out blue background of the Green Goblin, made a small little Lego city, held down the shutter button, and we just moved it across the city. And I just put it together. Now, this action scene, this whole fight with the Green Goblin, has a lot more importance to the episode than a lot of people might know just by looking at it. And it's not just, narrative-wise, just structure. I'm trying to find the right words. Just scenes like this. I haven't filmed a scene like that before. I know it's kind of like the movie, but there's scenes like this that aren't in the movie. And for me, this is the first time I had to put smaller segments, film smaller segments, and put them together as one action scene, and have it all flow together. One thing to another, to another, to another. And before, my set pieces didn't have that much complexity to it. And I mean complexity relative to what I've done in the past, not complexity relative to any other action set piece that has ever been created ever. And this scene right here where he fights off, the cops, like he's bulletproof, and he can fight off multiple police officers. So I don't necessarily have to show you him fighting off police officers in future episodes. I could, but I don't have to because it's already been established that he can. So it's not really a plot hole. And this scene's also very important narrative-wise because that just this moment right here destroys Eddie Brock's life, and it's kind of Spider-Man's fault, but kind of not. This fight scene is a little bit sloppy, but it's definitely a step up from Ultimatum in my opinion. Unnecessary slow motion. I don't know. I just wanted to do slow motion just once or twice on the show. Okay, now one of the reasons why the set, you can see where the floor ends on the set, was because I was transitioning from different cameras at the time, and I couldn't really get that close to the minifigures on the set, or else it would just be all blurry. I just couldn't get it to focus right, so I had to move the tripod back, and then you would see where all the stuff. I don't think the editing program I was using at the time would allow me to zoom in permanently, but only like temporarily. It's kind of complicated, but everything was just out of focus. Now, how I filmed the broken balcony is I just sort of ripped it off the wall, and I put silly putty and tack on the wall, on the wall below the balcony, so I could just adjust it every little bit. And on the other side of the balcony, it's like I don't know how to describe. You know what the minifigure for Doc Ock, his arms. That's essentially what I used to hold up the other side. And I liked how that little bit of debris falls down. It was very cinematic for what I was doing. I also don't really like this set. Just the wall, I just hate that so much. I just made it out of paper, and it's extremely lazy. Now, there was a problem that I faced in the show, and that's the tone of the show. Because sometimes it gets a little bit grimdark, I've heard. But I think that you can show death in a show. I mean, you can display death in a series, but it can't be too dark. It depends on how it's filmed. It can be nice and quick. You don't see that much. You don't see that much of the person dying. It depends on how it's edited. It depends on how much you see and how much you don't see. Like in this scene, it's creepy. It's dark. It isn't a good thing. But it's so quick, you don't actually see Alan Ferguson die. It's implied that Norman Osborn killed him, but you don't actually see it. Like, if I just showed him repeatedly stabbing Alan Ferguson in the face, then that would be extremely violent and gory and indeed dark. But would it be mature and serious? It'd be kind of gratuitous, and it wouldn't be, and I couldn't really take it all that seriously, because it's kind of ridiculous, because I'm kind of laughing just thinking about it. I don't think there was much importance to that scene. It's just, that's when the Green Goblin reveals himself to Norman Osborn, and that comes full circle in the next episode. So, been a while since I made a commentary. I think I've said that already. I'm sorry. It's been like a month from the beginning of this recording to the end of the recording, because there's gonna be some changes made in the room in which I film this show, mostly to the floor. Right now, it's just carpet and tripod don't go together well for stop motion. So, I use like this flat piece of glass that came off of my brother's desk, and it's like shaped perfectly for the tripod, because there's like 3 sides that I can rest the 3 legs of the tripod on. and I can move that around on that carpet pretty well. It's steady for the most part, and I can move it around because the glass is smooth and the carpet, allows glass to rub all around it. But it's not too slippery. There's enough friction, just enough friction, and that allows me to create that effect. If I turn the tripod, move it closer to the table ever so slightly with every single frame, it creates the effect. It creates the illusion that the camera is moving with the minifigures. You can mostly see this in scenes, in Cataclysm Part 2 fighting scenes. And not even always fight scenes, like when Spidey's talking to George Stacy. I use that effect where I'm getting closer to the set, and I'm slightly turning the camera with every single move. That really does connect back to this episode in a lot of ways. It's just how I evolved filming wise, where I started to where I am right now. And looking back on this episode, which I didn't really give much thought to, this episode and Vendetta Part 1, I didn't give much thought to, but I didn't realize where the transition happened for my set pieces, how I structured them, and how much work I actually put into them, because there's a structure to it. Every action that I film, there needs to be a reaction that I also have to film. Like people are falling from the balcony, Spider-Man has to save them. Things are getting blown up, debris is falling from the ground, the reaction from the crowd, and how that's filmed. I have to get a shot and reverse shot of the same thing happening, so I have to keep everything in order. If the pumpkin bomb is in his left or right hand, I gotta keep it that way when I film that same exact scene again. So that was difficult for me. That was a little bit difficult for me to keep track of. But I'm getting better at it. The more I do it, the more I do complex things, the easier for me to do it, the easier it comes to me. And the more I can do it. And that brings me the opportunity to improve upon that. Now, I'm not that sort of... I don't want to say filmmaker. I'll keep it down to brick filmmaker who goes all out with his explosions. Or all out with the action fight scenes. They aren't really they don't go on too long. They're actually relatively short. And there's context and consequences for everything that's happened. For everything that's happening. Like I said, action, reaction. There has to be stakes. There has to be things. Although these are super people, not everyone around them is super. And there's danger. It's dangerous. You have to have things exciting. It has to be exciting, but it can't be too gratuitous, or else so many people are going to get hurt and killed in the process. What's the point of protecting these people from this monster or from this villain? So there has to be a balance. It has to be exciting, but it can't be too boring or too structured. It's a tightrope. It's not difficult. Some might even look at my episode and go, "Nope, you haven't done it enough, Dark Spidey. It's still too exciting for me to watch, because superheroes are impractical, blah, blah, blah." That's my straw man for you, my Lego straw man. I apologize. You can believe in whatever you want to. I'm not going to force anything on you, and I doubt they would even be listening to this. Also, I learned different filming techniques and how to get around certain issues. This is running a bit long, but I think I need to go over this. I mentioned this in an older commentary. I believe it was the Amazing Spider Slayer commentary. The filmmakers on the original Spider-Man movie ran into a problem with the green screens, or with just chroma keying in general. You see, Spider-Man's costume, if you had noticed, has has red and blue on it. So, if I was filming Spider-Man, I put him on a green screen. That makes the most sense, right? But guess who else is green? The Green Goblin. I mean, it's in his name. How are you going to do that? Well, I believe they filmed them separately. The Green Goblin on a blue screen and Spider-Man on a green screen, and put them together. How I went about that was, because, I didn't have the technology to actually, I could do that. I have done that before. I have put green screen with blue screen. I think that's how I filmed the Hobgoblin and the Green Goblin. I don't really remember. But I couldn't do that at the time. And if I tried, it would look horrible. So I tried to look for colors that wasn't on any other costumes. I looked at both, put them together, and I tried to look for colors that weren't that didn't appear on their costumes. And it turns out orangey brown doesn't show up on any other costumes. So I took an orangey brownish construction paper and I just filmed them on it and I chroma keyed that out. I think that's how I filmed the Hobgoblin. Yeah, I don't think I ever. I think I still went with the brown. I don't really remember. Jeez, I have to look at the raw photos that I took of that episode because I don't really remember. I don't think so. I really don't. Yeah, I filmed. Yeah, I filmed the Hobgoblin on a green screen. I filmed the Green Goblin on a blue screen. So, at the time I was filming that episode, I had the technology and software to do such a thing, but at the time I didn't. So I had to work around that. So that's the progression there that I'm seeing. And when I look back, I can see it, and it's not enduring for, oh, Dark Spidey, you try, but you really you're grasping at something that's beyond your reach. You're kind of getting there, and to see where it leads up, maybe it doesn't need to be, maybe I don't need to be so patronizing to my past self. I mean, it's definitely not perfect, but I enjoy seeing where all this came from, because this didn't come out of nowhere. This came from years of practice, and I'm not saying it's perfected. It's nowhere near perfect. There is no perfect, but that's just it. It's all the journey, and a lot of people say, no, the destination, it matters, because what's the point, because you're going somewhere, and that's, the final destination, the end, if this isn't going to be absolutely perfect, then what's the point? The perfection isn't really the point, because perfection is impossible. For me, it's just getting really, really close there, and just the journey, the trials, and just, just getting there is part of the fun. Because some people go, well, what's the point in seeing the new Iron Man movie? Well, this isn't current. This was before Iron Man 3 came out. I've heard this complaint. What's the point in seeing the new Iron Man movie? I know they're all going to live near the end. La da 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 da. Okay, I kind of get that, but if you so strongly believe in the ending of things, if you so strongly believe that knowing the ending to something, or predicting the ending, being so sure of the ending, if you believe in that so much, then why do you watch anything more than once? By that philosophy, you shouldn't watch anything more than once. In fact, using that logic to Iron Man 3, you're arguing that you shouldn't watch it at all. In Iron Man 3, I'm not going to spoil anything here, did have some twists in there that threw me off. I'm not going to say whether I liked it or not, because I don't want to say whether I liked it or not, because that's not what this video is for. This video is for rambling. Oh man, it's almost 20 minutes long. This is going to be a pain in the ass to render. Even though there's like no video here, there's no moving pictures on this part of the video, this freaking program will take forever to render it. I don't get it. Okay, I'm gonna do the season finale commentary for this episode, because it's important. It's really important. Like, a lot happens in that episode. It's like one of my favorite episodes of this season. Can't wait to talk about it with you guys. Sorry this took so long. Okay, bye.